Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to my channel Aviation Cadet 9936. Today I'm gonna debunk a fascinating story about an aviator about 95 years ago. He achieved a task and is being glorified for the last 95 years. First, watch Professor Aikman's beautiful narration about this man's achievement.
In 1930, three Indians decided to chase a dream: the Agha Khan Trophy, a special prize for a unique air race aimed at promoting aviation and flying in India. The rules were relatively simple. You had to fly from India to England or vice versa within 6 weeks, but solo. And of course, you had to be an Indian national. The first one to do so would win a grand prize of a princely £500. The first and second attempts of the first contestant, an aeronautical engineer who took off from Croydon in England and flew in the direction of Karachi, were marred by accidents. But he was third time lucky, thankfully. Though this stroke of luck too came with a twist. Though he managed to land successfully in Karachi, he landed on exactly a day after his 6-week window had concluded, and therefore he did not make the cut. His name was Manmohan Singh. The second contestant also decided to follow a similar flight path and fly from England to India. Everything was clicking perfectly, but somewhere over Libya, the engine of his de Havilland Gypsy Moth biplane started sputtering. The contestant quickly realized that there was a mechanical failure because of malfunctioning spark plugs. Now, this was a serious concern, but since he was a highly skilled pilot, he was able to, despite this failure, fortunately make an unscheduled landing in Egypt. He was informed here that the earliest replacements for those faulty spark plugs would take several days at the earliest to be delivered. As he dejectedly put the telephone receiver down, he knew right then that he was out of the race. Unbeknownst to this drama, a third contestant who chosen to fly in the opposite direction, taking off from Karachi and flying to Croydon, was about to make a scheduled landing. Where? At the very same airstrip in Egypt where the second contestant was stranded. Upon learning about his predicament, the third contestant could easily have said, "Tough luck, mate," and waved cheerio to him, wiping out his only competition in the race. A move that would have ensured that he would go on to comfortably win the trophy and all the accompanying accolades. But that's not what he did. He was fully prepared for all exigencies and had spare sets of spark plugs that he unhesitatingly shared with his competitor, knowing full well that with these plugs, his competitor, who had a shorter distance to cover, would easily win the race. But he handed over those spark plugs to him anyway, because that is what gentlemen do. The result was as expected. His competitor won. He was the youngest Indian pilot of the time, a dashing 17-year-old. His name was Aspi Marwan Engineer, an extremely skilled and talented airman who went on to become a decorated Indian Air Force officer, rising through the ranks, becoming Air Vice Marshal and eventually Independent India's second Chief of Air Staff. And the gentleman contestant who came in second? You know his name, a 25-year-old JRD Tata.
So once this video was sent in one of my groups, and people are related to aviation, so I was thinking that, wow, what a great story until the end of the story. The final line.
And the gentleman contestant who came in second? You know his name, a 25-year-old JRD Tata.
I right away came to know that this is a fabricated story just to, amuse the people and get more views, I would say. Yeah, definitely everyone wants to do that. But because he's an elite class, Mr. Tata, so I said, no, let's dig up, because it's a very influential and inspirational story, actually, if you see it. A man sacrificing his plugs for another aviator who is in a competition with him right away. So I was going for my class, my final class of the day. So I thought that, because something didn't feel right. It was too good to be right, the story. So there were a few facts which do not make any sense to glorify anyone. For example, the distance from England to that airstrip where they landed is longer than the distance from the airstrip in Egypt to Karachi. So obviously he was going to lose. So even then he said, well, despite he knew that he is going to lose, he still gave him the plugs. Okay. For how long the guy was waiting in that desert for his plugs to be arrived, and he had a phone as well, and he made a phone call as well in 1930s. That also didn't make any sense. I don't know how advanced the phones were back then. I didn't check it up, but I'm sure that they were not that advanced that like our cell phones right now, and you call people and right away they are going to deliver you. You didn't have the GPRS facilities back in those times. So something didn't add up. So the one who sent me the video, I just told him, I said, just hold your horses, let me finish my class, and then I will check it out. So as soon as I finished my class, I just went to Uncle Google and typed in Agha Khan competition for flying from India to UK, Great Britain back then, and then back in 1930s. And most of the websites, patting the horse's back of Mr. Tata came up, and including the main Tata website. Tata is a huge group of industries. They also own the Air India. So the story was more or less the same thing. But on Tata's website, the story had more things like a logbook entry as well, and a letter written to the winner, Mr. Epsy. Don't go with the name. Epsy is they're Parsians. We call them Parsis. They worship fire. So that's their English, their names. One of my instructor in Pakistan Air Force was from the same religion. And his name happened to be Sir Percy too, Scholar Percy, at that time officer commanding of Primary Flying Training Wing 1. And I did my area solo, and my first solo, my MTT with him. He was the one, the pilot monitoring. So then I checked the dates. So when I checked the dates up, because it didn't make any sense, but anyhow, the date of arrival for Mr. Tata to arrive in that miraculous an airstrip in the middle of nowhere was 4 days after he took off from Karachi airport. So in 4 days he reached to Egypt and landed in the same airfield where Mr. Epsy already landed. So Epsy's leg was longer than Tata, so probably he's been there for many, because he left on April 25th from British airport. So once he left on April 25th, Mr. Tata started flying from 3rd of May, and Tata arrived, according to that logbook, he arrived on the 7th. So it took him 4 days to be there. So on 7th, Mr. Epsy, he was already stranded there for about, if you count from, there are 30 days in April, so 5 days of April, and then 12 days. So that leg has to be at least 12 days old, or more than 4 days, or at least 5 days old. So the leg from England to the Egyptian airstrip. So if that leg is at least more than from Egypt to Karachi, then it should be at least 5 days. So on April 30th, he should have been, Mr. Epsy should have been landing on that airstrip, and he's been waiting now. And I think 7 days should be enough for him to get his power plugs or power the plugs. But fortunately, he came over. Mr. Tata came over and handed over the plugs, the spare plugs, to him, because he was flying a machine, which by the end of the story I would tell you what. So eventually, in the end, they went on to their respective legs, and the heading of this piece of news was that Tata lost by 2.5 hours. So I was like, what? Hold on a second. That leg is longer than this one. So how can he lose by just 2.5 hours? He should be losing by at least 1 day, because that's how long the leg is. It's longer than the leg from Karachi to Egypt. So how come 2.5 hours? Was he on a supersonic? These were those biplanes. So dug up more into it, and what I found out. Luckily, I just Googled for the winner of Agha Khan Trophy, and Wikipedia gave me a page, and that was Mr. Chawla, Ramnath Chawla, who 25 or 26 years of age, and his co-pilot was Mr. Epsi. And they had won this competition because you can't fly solo for this long, okay? So this competition was not about solo. It was about getting on one aircraft and reach out at that time. Come on, man. It takes about 2 years to complete CPL. Okay, at most it can, presently we can do it in maybe 1 year because 200 mandatory hours. So he started at the age of 15. At the age of 15, you're flying airplanes, you're that professional that you're even getting your CPL done. I mean, at the age of 15, and I am a firefighter, I was a fighter pilot, okay? So at the age of 15, I couldn't even, wash my ass. So and the human intelligence grows by the time. If you watch the movie Lucy, you would know that we consume about 20% of our mind, of our consciousness, and we don't consume 80%. 80% still is subconscious, and we don't know what our mind is capable of. So back in like 70, 95 years ago, those people were even dumber than us. Although Einstein and Newton are from that era, two sections. So Mr. Tata was not even in this competition, and Mr. Epsi was flying towards England, not coming back to Karachi because the dates are the same. And the winner was Ramnath Chawla. So why would you do this kind of fakery to prove that Mr. Tata is great? Of course he is great. He has done so many amazing things, built up this whole Tata company, even makes doors, and I've seen in China even many buses they advertise for Tata, Indian company in China. So I think we shouldn't attribute these fakeries, because these fakeries, they lose all the credibility of that person. I mean, Mr. Tata, if he was alive, he would have been surprised. Oh, really? I did that? Oh, I was that generous? I was that kind? Probably he's much more generous than in his life than this thing. So attributing the wrong things to bigger people, again, to people who actually made a difference in the lives of the common people in India. So I think we should refrain from that one. So anyhow, this was a interesting story I needed to share with all of you guys. So thanks for listening to me. See you next time with more funny incidents, which I'm going to debunk. So thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.